Welcome to the SIWIKE podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The SIWIKE podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. We're here again with Minty, and we thought we'd have a conversation on healthy eating, right? So Minty has been on a quest to become a little bit more healthy in her life, and same with me as well. And we wanted to talk a little bit about eating, kind of our experiences. So I know as a kid, most of them don't like vegetables, right? That they try to remove the green things off of their plate, and candy, chips, and junk food, those are kind of one of those things where like they crave that because there's lots of good sugars and fats and deliciousness in there. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about kind of your experience growing up with food, with junk food, and then your transition over to healthy eating.
Yeah, so growing up, I was definitely not a healthy eater. I hated vegetables. Like I used to like hide vegetables in like a paper towel and like throw them out.
Oh no.
And then sometimes when I had to eat the vegetables, I used to put ketchup on the vegetables to make it taste better.
Right.
It didn't, but but I tried. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy healthy food. Like when you're young, you don't really realize how important healthy food is. Like you're young, you're just eating like junk food and stuff like that. So I remember like whenever I got money to buy lunch, I would always be buying like poutines and like buying burgers and stuff like that. I loved junk food. But when I was younger, I was working out a lot. Like I was doing a lot of track and field. I was doing a lot of gym. So like it didn't really affect me too much. But yeah, around like high school, I think that's when I started like to gain, like I started noticing I was gaining more weight. And I really wanted to just transition and get healthier. So I decided to just do some research on like healthy foods, on what are the best diets I can do to lose weight fast. So I just started to do that and just eat healthy. I started to work out more, and I just did like a vegan week last week, which was really interesting. It was hard in the beginning because it was like I was getting hungry, so I didn't know what exactly to eat. But honestly, after the 2 days, I really enjoyed it because it was like I was eating meals I wasn't familiar with, and it was just a different transition. So I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to transition into a plant-based diet soon. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my experience was fairly similar in the sense that, well, I loved, craved it, the junk foods and the candies and stuff like that, mainly because we didn't have much of it. But my parents were pretty healthy, right? They cooked kind of like real foods. They had vegetables. I was actually the good one of the siblings, where I would eat most of my vegetables. My sisters were the one kind of like you, maybe hiding it or taking less of it than they had to. So actually was pretty good. But I ate it more out of obligation than out of like. Now I actually believe that I like vegetables, and I would want to have it. But growing up, yeah, it was not very healthy. In high school, my go-to lunch was a medium fries with gravy. So our calf didn't really have like cheese for poutine, but I can totally get that, where I would get that. That would be my lunch, right? That would be kind of the main meal I had there. In well, university, I kind of packed my lunch. Most of it was like sandwiches and stuff for home, so it wasn't that unhealthy. And after I graduated and was working, it was all kind of takeout, fast food, whatever it is, right? And I would travel a lot, so a lot of it would be because I was on the road and I had to grab something quick because we had a lot of work to do. So I wasn't a very healthy eater. Then kind of 30, 40 comes along, and I start feeling my health decline in the sense that, well, I was pretty much a skinny kid growing up, but then I started like packing on some pounds, right? Some a little bit more like rolls and places where I never used to have that. And then I remember seeing some sort of video where like being skinny is not the same as being healthy, right? Because oftentimes it's the quality of the food that comes in, and if you're giving yourself deep fried and processed, highly processed things like that, it becomes challenging. So I started kind of looking into it, and it's really kind of those concentrated, those processed foods that are challenging, right? So the processed sugars, right? The candies, anything where they concentrate that, any of the processed kind of like wheat and carbs and stuff like that. So like pastas aren't that great for you, right? Because they take flour and then ground it out and make it this concentrate form. Whereas things like a potato, like they don't concentrate a potato, but they would in like a bag of chips because they take the oil from somewhere and then they fry it up, right? So it becomes concentrated. So just being aware of those things. And one of the things that helped me eat better is to go to the fridge instead of the pantry, right? Because when you're snacking, so I would try to stock up a lot of fresh fruits and grab an apple, a plum, or whatever it is there, whatever's in season, versus going off the shelf, which, well, there's a reason why I can sit on the shelf for years and weeks and months, because it's got a whole bunch of stuff in there to preserve it, and that preservative goes into your inside as well. And I haven't gone to that vegan kick, though I do want to be a little bit more plant-based. I've started with like kind of the green juices and the smoothies, blending a whole bunch of like vegetables there. So I had that yesterday, and I'll probably have another one for lunch today. And just trying to portion control too, right? Because sometimes with if you go out, the portions they give you are massive. Like they give you a whole giant plate or container of whatever, and it's meant for 2 or 3 people, but this is what one person serving, right? So just understanding those types of things would be good. So what are some of the other kind of useful healthy eating tips and tricks that you've had, or what are some of the challenges that you've struggled with and have evolved into kind of where you are right now?
So yeah, I definitely have a sweet tooth. So that's still a struggle for me. I just love chocolate and sugar. So something I've tried to do is like just not buy any candy whenever I see it. Try to not have any candy inside my home. So that's something I've tried to do. For healthy eating, what I've tried to do is just to go to the grocery store and always go to the produce section and just buy any of the fruits and vegetables that I need. Smoothies are a really good thing to do. I love having smoothies in the morning. Those are really beneficial. And just like, I wanted to touch on the point you said. A lot of people do associate weight with being healthy. You can still be skinny and being healthy, and you can be overweight and be healthy. So that's something I really just wanted to touch on there. But yeah, I've just really just tried to do some research on healthy eating, and I've really tried to just encourage my family to eat healthy, but it's very tough, especially with my mom. She just doesn't want to eat healthy, but it's okay. But yeah, I've just really just tried to focus on like my health, and I just want to be healthy for the future. So I've really just tried to work out and eat healthy as much as possible.
Sure. One of the perspectives that have helped me is that people tend to eat and people tend to do things really based on 4 areas. One is they do it for need or fuel, right? Because, well, if you're hungry, you need to eat, right? The second is joy, because whatever you're eating is delicious and it's amazing, right? And you kind of treat yourself once in a while for something nice and tasty, right? But the second and the third one, or sorry, the third and the fourth ones are often confused with the other two, where we often eat based on habit, right? And I don't know if you've ever had it. It's like, oh, it's 12 o'clock, we should have something, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually hungry, but you feel that you need to eat, right? So if you can avoid that one, and are you eating for the sake of eating, or are you eating because you actually need to? Now, there's certain people with shifts and stuff, and if you don't eat at that time, you won't eat for the rest of the day. But if you think about it, like humans can actually survive for like weeks, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks without food, right? And so what you think is actually hungry is not really I'm starving and I'm going to die, that sort of thing. Well, no, it'll probably take you a couple of days, like 1 or 2 weeks for you to get there. But it's definitely uncomfortable. So you want to get out of that kind of habitual thing. And the last thing that people often do is they eat based on escape, right? So they're trying to buffer any feelings or emotions, where that tub of ice cream, the bag of chips or whatever, because you're sad and sorrowful because something just happened, or you want to get away from something else that you want to do. So if you can kind of be mindful of those last two, and just really focus on those first two, then they can be helpful. And it's a simple question: is like, why am I eating? Right? Am I actually hungry? And do I actually need this? Do I want this? Do I love what I'm eating? Because sometimes those chips are good, but an entire bag of them is probably not that useful or great. So one thing that's helped me is before I actually go out and grab a snack or whatever, I'll drink a glass of water. right? And it's because oftentimes people think that they're hungry, but they're actually thirsty, right? So that has been very helpful. And then if I'm in one of those other two, then if I'm trying to do it based on habit, or escape, what I'll try to do is a couple of body weight exercises. I'll like do some push-ups or something like that. And if I'm still hungry after that, then I'll eat. But if I'm not, then usually it's sometimes it's to get your mind off of something and give yourself something to do, right? Because sometimes food is just there for doing it. And you want to enjoy your meal when you're with others. That's that second part, the enjoyment part, but not at the detriment of your health. And I'm glad that you focused a little bit on that weight and that, because muscle actually weighs more than fat, right? So and you might actually become heavier before you become lighter. But the good thing is that muscle is more compact than fat, right? So and I think we talked about that before. So people actually don't want to worry so much about weight and more about like size and measurements and things like that elsewhere. So I think a lot of that is useful. So for me, in terms of making better food choices, it's starts with kind of getting the food to begin with to your point about not having candies or snacks or whatever around. There'll be more kind of like nuts and fruit and stuff like that, a little more natural things that are available. Because if you can focus on the things that haven't been processed, one of the useful perspectives that I've heard is if you can look at your food and know where it's from, and the answer is not a factory, then it's probably good for you to eat, right? Because if you don't know where this came from, it's probably not a great thing to put in your body, right? So I think a lot of those are great, useful, healthy eating choices. And tips and suggestions. Do you have any others that you've kind of gone through? Maybe some that have worked, some that haven't worked, that you've gone through over the years?
So I definitely have tried to like eat every 3 to 4 hours, because I do have like a habit of eating sometimes, but I just try to eat like every 3 to 4 hours, just so my blood sugar doesn't go up or low. And also I think you should definitely avoid eating while watching TV. That is terrible to do. Like
Yeah.
I know sometimes when I'm watching TV, I just continue to eat that bag of chips until the bag of chips is done. So like
Right.
definitely avoid watching TV while you're eating. Something I've also heard is like chewing your food longer, like chewing it longer can make you feel full faster. So like
Sure.
eating your food slower can help. And yeah, I've just tried different diets. I don't like necessarily believe in like diets. I believe in just like eating better, like just eating more fruits, eating more vegetables, eating more like natural foods. I think that could be very beneficial. Drinking your water and staying hydrated is really important. And yeah, exercising also, that's very important too.
Yeah, there's a quote, and I forget where it came from, but I'll try to find it. But it basically says the key to healthy eating is to eat real food, right? Mostly plants, and not too much. Right? And that's kind of like the basics, and you'll stay healthy with following those guidelines. But I totally get what you mean by eating occasionally, because some people they get hangry, right? Where it's kind of that low blood sugar, where a little bit of food, but it doesn't have to be a whole bag, a whole bar, a whole whatever it is. It could just be just something to kind of get that blood sugar back up. And that mindless eating can be such a killer, right? So when you're at a sporting event or doing something and you're not even paying attention, you're not actually enjoying the food, right? It's just kind of going in and then eventually coming out, right? And then one thing that I've heard a lot of people going into more is things like the intermittent fasting, right? Where you might not eat breakfast, and you'll only eat for, let's say, an 8-hour window throughout the day, where lunch and dinner fit in there, and anything outside, so no midnight snack, no breakfast. And that's kind of helped folks, and that kind of supports our evolutionary biology, where I mean, we didn't have access to these like humongous troves of food, right? Like and fridge and stuff like that. So we would, as our ancestors would eat whenever we could, and usually that's kind of a small window during the daylight hours when we could forage for our berries and the nuts and stuff like that. And once in a while you might gorge a little bit for after you like killed some animal or whatever, but you wouldn't necessarily do that on a daily basis, right? It would be more once in a while. So having that extra fasting, even for a couple of days. I haven't necessarily done that myself recently, but I've heard a lot of people swear by that. But again, because we're as humans aren't necessarily wired to eat on a daily basis. And actually, if you go back in time and take a look at the history, like even 3 meals a day is a fairly recent invention, right? In the last kind of 100 years, where I think like the Romans only had like 1 or 2 meals during the day, right? And then breakfast was apparently created based on like all the cereal giant companies, where it became the most important meal of the day because they had to sell more, right? And now a lot of folks are they're actually changing the whole like food pyramid and all the different allocations of that, where a lot of the grains and stuff are being removed, replaced by vegetables and things like that. So our understanding of food and all that is changing as well. So just because you heard it in the past doesn't mean it kind of stays. So I encourage folks to question a little bit and take a look at what is in their food and how they should work. And to your point about kind of diets, I think everyone should have their own kind of nutrition plan, right? Whatever it is, and how they want to eat and how they want to sustain themselves and their bodies. So I think that's a lot of great information. What are some other tips and tricks that folks can implement in their lives, or are there any kind of parting words that you want to share for folks on their journey for healthy eating?
This is kind of like a whole different kind of question, but like, I feel like it's tough for some people to eat healthy just because of the costs. Because I feel like junk food is obviously way cheaper. And whenever you read the flyers, like junk food is always on sale. And it's even harder when you're watching TV and like the commercials that come up are always for junk food and fast food. So I definitely understand, like it's definitely hard. And I can understand why some people choose the fast food way, because it is cheaper and some people don't have the money to spend on healthy food. So what do you think about that? I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And it's one of those things where there are a lot of industries where the lobbyists do really well. And because of subsidies and things like that, like a lot of the sugars and the corns and stuff of the world are highly accessible, right? But if you were to let kind of market dynamics play out, you'll probably find that, that there are certain things that will kind of become cheaper because more people will want them, right? Because if you actually go and buy like an apple, right? It's not that expensive, right? But the kind of cookies down the aisle are available and cheaper because a lot of it is subsidized. And I think that's definitely a good point where it's changing a little bit, where a lot of companies and a lot of people know that this is happening. So they're actually voting with their dollars, so to speak, where they're actually buying more fruits, more organic, those types of products, which is kind of increasing the demand, which therefore helps with supply, and then things generally become a little bit more cheaper as well. But even without that happening, one of the things I encourage folks to think about is that you're spending money on something, and if you don't spend money on your health now, then you'll spend it on it later on, right? Because it's one of those things that if you start filling yourself and building yourself up with processed sugars and foods and whatever it is, like that's not sustainable, right? And then you'll pay for it later on with whatever, like the onset of diabetes or other diseases that are provided based on kind of health and habit. And there's so many kind of new areas and studies that are showing where if you treat it with things like food, right? Because actually food, one of the interesting notions that food is information, right? Food is information about how your environment is, right? So when you're getting kind of the fresh fruits and vegetables, your body knows that it's thriving and you're in good time, so it continues to allow you to think well and be creative and imaginative and stuff like that. But if you're putting a whole bunch of crap in your body, it's like, oh my gosh, are we like in a war where we're rationing things and you can only get it at certain times of days and only this kind of low quality food? So there must be like some dystopian future that we're living in, and we're not able to survive. So I'll start doing things appropriately, right? So that's just a concept in there where I encourage folks to prioritize health, right? Their healthy eating as well, whether the government or other bodies help or not, still make a choice, because even though it may not be as accessible and not as cheap, going that extra mile will help folks understand that, hey, more people want to make these healthy eating choices, right? So that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to go to the more organic section of the store, going more into the produce areas as well, and try to limit myself in terms of the other aisles and the frozen sections and all that sort of stuff. But once in a while, I do like to treat myself and treat my kids and the family and all that sort of stuff. So we still have those. but hopefully we'll move in the right direction. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about that, or what was kind of your experience with kind of that question?
Well, for me, I feel like it's better to go to like places like Costco and stuff, just because I feel like it would be worth your money. Like you're spending your money, but you're getting a large quantity of food. So I think Costco is a really good place to go to get healthy food. Yeah, it's just, I know it's been hard for some people because like, yeah, junk food is just it's cheaper and it's there, it's always in front of your face when you're watching TV or when you're online. So I just encourage everyone to just make healthy eating like a priority, because honestly, if you want to live longer and live a healthy life, like I feel like it would be very beneficial for you. Try to get your family to eat healthier also. Like I feel like it would be very, very beneficial for all of you. And yeah, just continue to focus on yourself, focus on bettering yourself, exercise, and do the things that are right for you.
Yeah, and I would echo that, where at the end of the day, it's going to be your choice, right? So,
Yeah.
so you'll choose whether you decide to prioritize health in whatever aspect, whether it's food, nutrition, or even on your mental wellness as well. When you make those choices, then you'll kind of reap the results. So just be aware, because if you're kind of consuming the kind of low quality food, well, you're probably going to end up with a lower quality of life. Right? So, well, thanks so much for joining us for this episode, and hopefully we'll have you back for another engrossing discussion.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining us on the SIWIKE Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Lukidanu, Lukidanu, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.